In a month dedicated to flooding our brains with sunken seeds and green fishies, Winona has been waiting patiently to show us why she's always been the handiest woman around. Even if Clay has gone and altered her base kit far more than they've ever done with any skill tree that is released. But what does that all look like visually? Well, her deployables have plenty of timers now and only remain fully active if rendered as such via touch or via her upcoming remote. Otherwise, we can expect to see a lot of flashing lights come the new sleep modes. But in order to stop you from entering sleep mode too early, let us talk the specifics, starting with the hot lights. As we'll soon come to find, most of her skills don't get much simpler than just saying what they do, and this one just turns all spotlights into heat sources, even at range. And like, a decent range too, mind, so take advantage while also knowing that they will stop heating you come summer to further help you take advantage of this next skill, Spacious Spotlight. And what's more, the footage should do all the talking for me, as here's the range without the upgrade versus how much coverage we will get with it. Enjoy. As now we dip our toes into the true start of Winona's updates, portability, and the handy remote. The former is a simple concept with game-changing implications, as being able to pick up every machine as is, fuel intact mind, in order to move it anywhere you please is in and of itself amazing. And enter the cheaply handy remote that for now will only allow for some mass activations of our catapults, and the building blocks begin to fall into place, I feel. But we can't quite stack them yet, before we mention another addition to Winona's base kit, gadget charging. Even without her quick charge skill there, the remotes, the portasol to come, and the windbot can all be dropped near a generator to return durability at roughly 1% every second, but tack on that quick charge skill, and that becomes 2% every second instead. It's efficient, very efficient, just like how several more perks to come will be, like her energy saver skill. And lo and behold, it does exactly what it says. Stops generator drain in its tracks when all machines and gadgets are not in use. So don't be a worrywart to Winona anymore. Especially when it's time for the start of the fun in precise targeting and barrage. The former allows for us to tell all catapults in range to fire at specific locations, and yes, we can even queue up targets for some sustained fire, whereas the latter is going to make every catapult fire 50% faster for 20 seconds overall to allow for the player to be more involved in whatever you happen to be doing at that point, instead of just clicking repeatedly. Now, it might not seem noticeable from just footage, but I promise you, it's the real deal. As are her next two set of skills, as they too are kind of difficult to sell with just visuals. But to try and prove what the greater generators are actually doing beyond their straightforward descriptions, do yourself a favor and just look at this comparison between the generator drain between a full set of catapults when the skills are activated for what it is when it's not, and at default there. So yeah, it's not just saving energy when machines are standing by, it helps maintain them when they are actually in use. To continue though, the second set to pay close attention to is Explosive Volley, as once more it might not mean much to you through this simple montage of footage, but if you truly think about what you're seeing here as the footage finally progresses to the final level of this AoE, then I believe you'll appreciate the opportunities presenting themselves, especially when it comes to mob farming. And that's always fun. But the last skill set before the Shadow and Lunar funsies isn't actually fun at all. Rapid Fire increases the default fire rate of all catapults by 5, 10, and 20% without the use of the handy remote's barrage ability. But like, why waste 3 insight points for a 30% decrease in efficiency? Yup. This is dumb. So let us focus on the spooky, nightmare generator skills are first, and the gist is that not only will nightmare fuel be able to be used as fuel, but it also overcharges generators as well, leading to even more efficiency overall, as I'm spamming a full set of catapults in these 2 clips by the by. But continue down this branch to introduce pure horror as fuel, and things just start getting crazier and crazier on that front. Plus, all catapult projectiles will start to deal 30 base damage with 17 planar added at the end. And yes, expect 10% more damage to any lunar based mobs on top of that. But bring it all together in the Shadow Strike skill, and every attack should hit for 120 planar damage, while also creating binds at their targets that persist for quite a long time and proceed to damage all mobs that move within them by 34 damage a second. Just mind how much planar strikes are going to eat up your generators. But the wrap up this branch comes Winona's true affinities to Charlie in the Shadow Seeker skills that allow for the crafting of the rose-colored glasses on the cheap that will lead to creating vine bridges over gaps that last for 20 seconds, can grant you the ability to select whichever wormhole you want to navigate to, even if that wormhole is not connected to the other, and finally, all sorts of Charlie-esque examinations that produce nightmare fuel or pure horror every 4 minutes. And yes, you do need to scan specific things that remind Winona of Charlie in order to see this side of the glasses, so make note of this list here. But we ain't quite finished yet. Not when Shadow Seeker 2 leads to full Charlie immunity as well, which is kinda dumb, as well as Fragile Roses, a new item exclusive to Winona that is obtained via examining a flower of your choice with the glasses on that ultimately leads to free revives at the portal or nightlights as long as the roses are within your inventory. Yup. It's a thing. As is our last branch of the day, Enlightened Generators and the Boss Man's affinities. Unique to the Shadow Gens, using Enlightened Shards leads to infinite energy on Generators, with the only concern being draining them too quickly, leading to an overload mechanic that will last for roughly 10 seconds, as you can see. And yes, some of this is actually tied to the greater Generator skills, but as for the pure brilliance side of things, they're just pure horror projectiles when it comes to damage, including when planar striking hostiles. However, these puppies do work over producing vines. And yes, this too is a real thing. But to call it quits, let us inspect some different crap with the inspect toggles that will lead to caches every 4 minutes instead, that will be filled with new and familiar junk needed for what's to come. Say like the Telebrella and Pad once you have Founders Keepers too and have used a calibrated perceiver on some interesting transmissions there. But simply put, Winona can now teleport at the cost of some gen drain, and said gen drain is going to be higher the further she teleports. But the main takeaway should be that we can teleport items as well, so do with all that as you please. But lastly, those calibrated perceivers I mentioned have even further uses, as not only will they allow for Winona to prototype all kinds of prototypes without their crafting machines nearby, it sneakily leads to the Winbot through scanning Wobot. And what does this little guy accomplish? Roughly the same as his big brother, really, as he'll collect and store what's in his radius, but the big takeaway is that he returns to where you deployed him at once he's done or low on battery, so you can theoretically charge him forever if you're smart about it. But whatever the case, there you have it, everyone. A full in-depth look at Winona's new skill tree in the latest Don't Starve Together update, Staying Afloat. No surprise here, she is very self-explanatory, with a lot of urges coming down to number boosts here and there. And perhaps that's a little too much, but it is what it is. Thanks for watching, folks. Well wishes to all, mechanize the world, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.